Hi, welcome to Basement Apartment DIY. This is a YouTube channel, but today I wanted to talk about a couple of my favorite books on being a landlord. The purpose of this channel is to help anybody that wants to rent their basement out. And I've rented my basement out in three different houses. I've had 3 houses with basement apartments over the last 15 years. So I don't know everything about renting basements out, but I figured I was as well qualified as anyone. So I started a YouTube channel to help other people out there rent their basement out better. It certainly is something that has a little bit of risk, renting your basement out. Personally, I've had actually had meth users one time in my basement. It was just terrible. We had a hard time renting this particular basement because of the location and some of the features about the house. So we took a chance on people that we really shouldn't have done. It wasn't the end of the world. Well, a lot of people would have thought it was the end of the world. We had to do a whole remediation that was expensive. But anyway, today's video is about 2 excellent books on being a landlord. The first one I'm going to go through has a couple of advantages. I'll show it to you here. This book is called Landlording, and it's a book about landlording. It was written by a guy out in California. He started writing it back in the late 70s and continued writing it practically until his death in about 2015. So over literally a 40-year period. He owned lots of units. I think he owned well over 300 units. He taught landlording classes for many years at I think it was through a community college to landlords out in the Bay Area. And through all this time, he wrote in kind of I'd say a homemade style, not highly edited. I think he published the book himself, but so his style was not highly professional like you might expect from a lot of books, but he has tons of good information. It says on the back, says enjoyable to read. This is the kind of nuts and bolts, meat and potatoes, practical information most investors want. And that's, I think, his strong point. Through a lot of experience, he wasn't just guessing on 1 or 2 or 5 properties. He had a 40-year career, and he really put his experience into, and he was kind of a student of the field through 40 years. Tons of good information. A lot of information you wouldn't need related to, being a professional landlord of many properties, but nonetheless a great read. One of the benefits of the book is you can get it on Amazon. Lots of old copies out there. You can get a used copy for, I think, as little as $5 or $6, So practically free. Get it, look at it. And he goes through the whole life cycle of being a landlord, from getting the property ready to how to advertise, how to screen tenants, how to talk to people on the phone, getting them in there. Tons of forms and leases and all the forms you'd want to ever give to a person. For instance, like when people move in, the inspection form is in there. And there's just, I'm not remembering them all right now, but there's just tons and tons of forms. A site visit, like say you do a little inspection, how to do an inspection, the kinds of things to look for. Okay. The next one, quite a modern one, written in 2015. I'll hold this up. And this is kind of, I would say, the state of the art now might not be the most comprehensive, but again, this is the book on managing rental properties. And it's quite a well-known book. Again, it's written for apartment owners of people that have apartment houses, not necessarily basement apartments, but most of the things in here are applicable to basement apartments once again. This is by Brandon Turner. I know that I've learned about his background. He talked about it on YouTube. he was a scholar of being an apartment owner. Read everything he could read, watched all the podcasts and things on YouTube. And so he came up with this book. It's pretty comprehensive, 300 pages. Again, tons of forms, a little bit more modern. Again, with all of his forms, you can use them if you want. But he says, things need to be calibrated to the state and there are legalities to it, which is, I think, a very unfortunate thing about being a landlord. If all the laws were uniform, then you could get the best lease, you could get it right out of this book, and everybody in the whole country could use it. Well, it's not quite that way, but you may be able to get away with using the lease in this book. It's a pretty good lease. Anyway, all the forms you could want, all the knowledge you could want, goes through, again, the whole life cycle of a tenant, from advertising to them, getting your place ready, blah, 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 all the same things. The books are quite similar in their structure and their they both preach that you need to be fair but firm, that landlording is a business like any other, and it deals with people. You need to be good to people, but don't let them take advantage of you. Okay. I've been taken advantage of a few times. I've rented to friends, and I don't feel really bad about any of them. But maybe if I'd ran it a little bit more like a business, like it says in these books, I'd have had a little bit more success. Anyway, I have had success. I've had 3 basement apartments. If anyone has a suggestion for me on this channel, again, the purpose of it is to help you as a landlord. And the other thing is, if I want to get a lot of actual basement apartments up, you can contact me at basementapartment7@gmail.com if you want to put your basement apartment on the channel. Anyway, that would be really helpful. I want to get a lot of examples about how people are doing it in real life and what they're doing. But these books are a great place to start. Like I say, I've been burned before. It's a lot of the business is common sense, find good people. And that's probably, that's one thing I wanted to mention. It's been said by, I think, several authors, like 80+% of landlording is finding good people. So don't get overwhelmed by the 300+ pages in these books about all the things to do. Finding good people and treating them well, and then demanding that they treat you well by, requiring late fees if they're late or whatnot, is most of the business. Probably the most important part of the business. But anyway, if you want to read a couple of comprehensive books, again, here they are. Landlording, Leigh Robinson, he wrote it over a 40-year period of time. And then kind of the modern equivalent by Brandon and Heather Turner, his wife, the book on managing rental properties. I highly recommend them. One good thing about this one is it's on Audible. So you're watching YouTube, you might be a person that likes to watch or listen to something more than read it. So, it's for $20 or so, you can get it on Audible. I've got Audible and this copy, and listen to it while you're doing something else. And I think that's all I had to say about these books. One quick point I wanted to mention about both of these books is don't get intimidated about the length and the breadth and the scope. Like I said, both books were written by people that owned lots of units and studied it for a long period of time. And so what do they say about eating an elephant? One bite at a time. So what you might do is get the audio version and listen to the whole thing. And then say if you're renting your place out for the first time, look up the chapter on advertising. Then look up the chapter on screening, phone screening, each of the steps. And you don't have to be perfect at it, but do get the right person. That's the key. So anyway, don't get overwhelmed. When I first read them, when I was first a landlord, I actually got this book when I was first a landlord, and it's almost 500 pages, and I got pretty overwhelmed. So you can study one section at a time. And also go and see landlordology.com quick start guides. Those are like little tiny versions of these. They have good information, but they're not so intimidating. Anyway, I just wanted to add that one thing. Don't get overwhelmed, please. Anyway, good luck.